Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. This is episode numero tres. Um, for those of y'all that might not know, my name is Angel Valle. This is Jose Luis Cruz Contreras, and we are the hosts of podcasts that we will be naming in our next episode.
Yes.
Um,
Siempre digo yes.
yes.
Síguele.
Um, If y'all have not followed us, we have Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, but don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button on this channel so you do not miss any of our future episodes. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah. Once we start getting into like entrepreneurship and what it has been since we've taken our leap of faith, I think things are gonna be real relatable to entrepreneurs out there or those that are waiting to take that leap of faith. So right now, episode 1 was just pebble stones to wetting our feet on this podcast. Episode 2 was getting to meet Jose Luis, because how are we going to talk about entrepreneurship and our leaps of faith if y'all haven't known where our deep roots come from? And then this episode is going to be about me getting to know why.
Yeah, so we're gonna get to know Angel.
Yeah.
Last time we talked about my traumas. Well, I don't think there were traumas. It was just my childhood. And a lot of people are who they are because of the traumas that they went through as kids. And then we made, and I'm gonna be honest. Silo, you want to be part of it or what?
Oh, he's in the room.
Anyways, well, we made a video. We made a podcast. We didn't post it because we didn't like it, and this is why we didn't like it. I think it was kind of scripted, and Angel told me, and I was like, yes, that is true. We're not being genuine, and yeah, a lot of more things, right? But then, thanks to that, I think that things happen for a reason, and Angel had an epiphany.
Yeah.
A realization
Yeah.
this morning. We were talking about this podcast, and she was telling me, you know, I just I think that I never had any traumas as a kid.
Yeah, I was listening back to the old podcast that I did not like. And it's not that what was said, it was more like, it was like question number 1, question number 2. And I don't feel like we were really portraying who we are, because we're kind of like go with the flow people. And if you know us, like in real life, which this is real life, but like truly in a personal level, you know us that like we're real go with the flow kind of people. And that did not feel genuine. So I was like, delete that. And this is why we're taking a little while to record the second one, because I needed to like recap. I really did not like it. It didn't feel genuine. It didn't feel like us. So, but actually listening to that podcast, I was like, dang, I don't have a lot of childhood stuff like Jose Luis. Like his upbringing wasn't, mine is very simple, I would think.
Simple in a way. In what way?
Well, like when we talk about like my makeup of what my childhood looked like, I had both of my parents in my home, my mom and my dad. The only difference I could say is my parents are very grounded workaholics, very, very grounded workaholics. And I think that because of that, they were very financially stable, still are very financially stable. And I didn't grow up in a household where we needed anything or we went through any like trials or tribulations. If anything, because my parents were very workaholics and were supporting not only themselves, us, but also their parents, um, I just, the only thing I can remember as being a hardship was um, them not being very involved in my childhood. But yeah, like I feel like my parents, because they were so work involved and so work emphasized, that they were doing a lot of things to take up my time to fill in that gap that they like the way I do, right? I feel that like now as me as an adult, I see how I do that with
I
Analia.
was about to ask you that. You don't
Yeah.
think we're doing the same
No,
thing
I
with
do.
Analia?
I really do. And I was like looking at the video and I was like, oh my God, I literally do the same thing that my parents do. I literally work so much, and anything Analia wants to do, I'm like, let's do it. Okay, fine. You want to be a mariachi? Let's do it. You want to be in dance? Okay, let's do it. Like, and then I find people to move her around, but am I truly involved? No. And that's exactly exactly the only thing that I see as like sadness in my childhood is that my parents were never there. Like I was in cheerleading from like 4 years old to like 12 to being 12. I was in boxing, I was in self-defense, I was in soccer, I was in basketball. Like come on,
Choir.
yeah, I was in
She sings.
I was in choir, I was in band, I was first clarinet. Don't fuck with me in the clarinet, okay? I even remember my dad like telling me like vamos a comenzar un tambor y clarinete,
Tamborazo.
el tamborazo.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'll be the clarinet. And one of my brothers was like into drums. So here I go trying to like impress my dad. So I got into clarinete and I got first chair in my middle school, and then still did it in high school until I thought I figured out that like being a clarinet player was not the it girl thing. So I was like, ew, why would my dad make me do this? But like I was constantly trying to chase that, like trying to impress him. But it was very sad as a child, never seeing him show up. So
Yeah, and it's I was, as you're saying that, I'm thinking about stuff, right? Like if we compare your childhood with mine, like yours was easier.
yeah, I know. Yeah.
But I never realized that mine was hard until I came here and I realized that.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Anyways, right. But I was thinking about that, like me, I was a kid that didn't have it all.
Yeah.
You were a kid that had it all.
Yeah.
But
from
now,
a kid's perspective.
yes, from a kid's perspective, yes.
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking about our future kids, right?
Yeah.
Me as a dad, am I gonna try to give them all or everything that they need in order for them to not struggle? And then, like you,
yeah. Oh, I see where
are
you're
we
going.
gonna do the same to a point where we're gonna?
I think
and check this out. Check where I'm going. Check where I'm going to with this. See.
Sure.
Okay. Well, just chill and listen. All right.
Okay.
Just let me talk. Okay. So think about it. A lot of people say that nowadays this generation are real weak.
Yeah.
Because their parents are giving them everything. There's no discipline.
I can see that. Yeah.
So, do you think we're gonna create a weaker generation, like our kids? Do you think they're gonna be weaker than us? And not weaker. How can I explain it? Do you think they're gonna work as hard as us?
I do think that they're gonna work as hard as us because that's all they saw, and I could relate that to me. Like all I saw was my parents literally grinding day in and day out. Like their hustle was really, really like invested. Like they were invested in getting. I think that at a point in their lives they were like, "This is what I want," and they were not gonna stop working till they got there. And then when we all kind of like fluttered and found our own ways. I mean, you don't know any of my siblings that are lazy to this point. No, we're all workaholics, all of us. And I see that because the other day, I didn't share this with you, but Bobby wrote a message. I'm not sure if you're in that group message. Where Bobby was I am. Yeah, my little brother texted us and he was like, I literally wish that one day we could have as the rest that we want. And in my head, it made me feel so ugly because I'm like, we can rest. Like, because I'm like, there's nothing in my household that I didn't pray for last year that I don't have now. And I rested last year. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm like, is this an us thing? You know, like, is this something that's like embedded in us because that's all we saw growing up, that's all we know. Yeah. So that's all we do. Cause you know, you monkey see, monkey do, you know? And then I'm like, I don't want to continue to do this. So I said that the other day, and I even said this in my women's group, that I was like, I have this ugly tie with being financially okay, you know? And then I think about it, and when I'm praying, I'm like, God, thank you. I am financially okay. It's a me thing. Yeah. Like I'm trying to control my finances when really, like I'm leaving no room for God to do what he has to do, when in reality, he's done a lot already, you know? And I think that as my siblings, like they don't realize how far we've all come. And I truly don't think it's a competition between each other. I think it's a competition within ourselves. Like that's all we know. And the more we have, the more we want, because that's how our parents were.
Well, that's human nature.
Yeah. But like, I think in us, it's like on steroids.
Well, that's still human nature. But so
But it's sad. You think
yeah,
about
I
it
know it is
because
sad because a lot of people don't realize that if they don't have God in their lives, they're
yeah,
not gonna be complete.
yeah.
That's what I realized.
Yeah, and we're all trying to fill this void. Like I talked about this in the podcast we deleted. Like I'm trying to fill this void about like making my parents proud, still wanting them to show up for me. Like for example, when we buy real estate, I'm like, "Mommy, papi, like compré una casa." And I see their very like blank responses.
Okay.
Ah, okay.
Because they had six. That's why.
Huh? Cuz they had what?
Because they had six.
Six? Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I mean they had
So to
six
them, it's
houses. To them
normal.
it is normal, but like to us it's like
To you, it's a big achievement.
yeah,
Yes.
it is a huge achievement and I want to hear that like let me show up for you. Let me go like I mean my mom did it
Yeah,
once
your
we
mom.
had
Yeah.
once we had that struggle here, but I feel like unless they truly see me struggling, they don't know how to applaud
Yeah.
for me either.
So this is another thing, right? Uh, and I asked you that about the kids because, uh, what happened with you, from what I know,
Uh-huh.
is that you didn't struggle when you were a kid.
Yeah,
So
no.
you thought the world was perfect,
Yeah.
and you thought that you could actually be independent and do
Yeah.
everything that you wanted
Yeah.
as an adult, and you didn't realize that you were able to do whatever you wanted as a kid, or a child, kid, teenage, young adult, because of your parents.
Yeah.
And once you went out there
Well,
and tried to be
I
independent,
mean, we talked about this morning. There was a point in my life when I told Jose Luis, like, you know what's crazy is that my brothers, because I had three brothers, right? I'm gonna go back to my demographics. I come up from a household of my two parents, and we're a blended family. My mom had two previous husbands before my dad, but she had one son, which is my oldest brother, with her first marriage. A second son, which is my second brother Brian, with her second couple, and then she had me and Bobby, which is my youngest sibling, but they're all males, right? So when I grew up, my oldest brother stepped hugely into that father figure, just like my grandpa. Like my you always hear this, the oldest sibling kind of takes care of the rest of
yeah,
the siblings, and like he did a huge job, an amazing job. Kudos to my brother Tony, because even to this day, like I have stuff that I want to cry to, and I cry to my brother, and I'm like, dude, he's not a girl, right? But he can still relate to me, and he's just been that huge father figure like my grandfather was. And I feel like my brother Brian and my brother Tony, my two oldest brothers, did an amazing job to like shield me from what the world really was, because to them they were like, es mi única hermana, like that's my only sister. And my dad too, like he was out there not physically present, but I can now say like thank God for my dad's like vision and his entrepreneurship, because even growing up, I literally did benefit from the fruits of his labors. We lived in one of his homes. And I'm like, if it was not for my
yeah,
dad literally slaving out there day in and day out, I would not be where I am today. My mom, too, like, they just hustled, and we literally benefited from the fruits of those labors till probably like what, 4 years ago, 3 years ago.
Me, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, still, because if that didn't happen, if your dad didn't have those houses, we wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to have a place to live in. So we're still benefiting from it, even
Yeah.
though we're not attached to it anymore.
Yeah.
We're still benefiting. Why? Because we're still here,
Yeah.
and that was God's work.
Yeah, literally, because I could say like, yeah, my dad was in prison, but he was there, like in the areas I needed him, and even till I was an adult. But like as a kid, like he did an amazing job. So did my brothers, from shielding me from what the world was really like. I didn't know men cheated. I didn't grow up in a household where like my dad cheated on my mom.
Real men don't cheat.
Yeah, or like that hitting or like physical abuse. And it's crazy because I talk about those topics because that's where I've been. Like after I got out of their little shield of them protecting me, like my brothers and my dad and I went to go adventure what the world was really like. I experienced that and I was like, what is this? What do you mean men cheat? What do you mean like they don't provide. Like my dad, I experienced a lazy male in my life, and I was like, what do you mean? Like I have to be the sole proprietor and like the sole person of bringing financially stable to our household. Like I did not know that. So I feel like that was God's way of molding me of like, okay, you were protected for a while, but like here you go. This is the reality. The world isn't all unicorns and confetti like your brothers and your dad catered it to you to be. And I think everything started hitting the fan, and it was a slap of reality when my brother Brian was incarcerated, because that's when like part of my shield was taken away, and it was really hard. I
Yeah.
remember I started dating at that time, and I feel like my brothers did protect me from a lot of that, because even like not as a child, right, but as a teen and even like as a young lady, I remember going out clubbing with my brother Brian, and like he would still protect me. I remember I would dance with people and he would grab guys and be like, no, not you. Or like if someone would come and if he was dressed a certain way, he'd be like, okay, go. One song and that's it. Come back and stand right next to me. And for a long time, women at the club that were like dating him were like, you know, he was in the game. He was like
He's a
flirting.
player.
He was a player. So it was funny to see that a bunch of women thought that I was his girlfriend.
They were gonna beat you up.
Yeah, no, they did beat me up.
Oh,
A few
okay.
of them did beat me up because they were like, fuck this bitch. Like, that's my man. And I was like, girl. And I was not allowed to say that I was Brian's sister, because he was like, no, the more you're protected and the more you're by me, I'm going to continue to hold this image that people are portraying because you're my sister and I'm going to protect you. And like, I was only allowed to leave my house with my brother and come home back with my brother.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's part of the
And
shield.
Brian never told you that guy's cheat.
I saw it with him, but I was like, no, I'm never going to go through that because my brothers would never allow it. I literally felt protected by them. I really did. I thought that my brothers were just always going to protect me, because even when I would go through stuff in high school, when like girls would like intimidate me and stuff, they were doing everything in their power to like, I remember this one time, babe, I think I told you this. This one guy was bullying me in high school, and I was dating this one guy. And after school, this guy comes from behind me and grabs my breast,
But
right?
okay.
I didn't have breasts, right? That's what Jose was about to say. You could like literally, he probably palpated my heart.
He touched your lungs. Y luego.
And I was like, I remember like, because he did it in front of the football team, and I cried my heart out. And I was so embarrassed. I remember I got in the car and my dad was picking me up, and he was like, what happened, Angel? And remember, my dad was not very present, so I didn't know how to have these uncomfortable conversations with my dad. And I was like, drive me home, I'll be okay, I'll be okay. I went home, I cried. My little brother, which was also a big part of that shield, he was like growing up at that time, and he was like, something's wrong with Angel. I get home, I lock myself in the room, and my oldest brother, my little brother, calls my older brothers, and he's like, hey, something went down, Angel in high school, she's a freshman, something happened, she got home, she's crying, like this and this happened. Well, I had already vented to my older brother that this and this dilemma was going on. I was dating a football guy, and another high school girl was like going against me. And then he was just like, okay, well, it must be related to that, right? They ended up doing their own digging. Tell me why homeboys took it upon themselves to go fight those guys and their brothers to protect me. So the next day I'm going to school and everybody's beat up. I'm talking about the guys that touched me and their brothers. And I was like, what is this? So I feel like even then I had this like huge thing of like, I'm untouchable. Like these guys cannot do anything to me. So I feel like at the older I got, like you say, like you how were you not exposed to cheating because my brother was a player? But I'm like, even then I thought like, no one can play me, my brothers will beat them up. Like that was my image, literally. That's what I thought.
So what was the moment where you were like, ooh, the real world's not like I thought it was?
I think when I went through stuff with Analia's dad, like I remember like when I got pregnant by Nana's dad, I was just like, dang, I just disappointed the shit out of my family. And that hit home. Like just that deep feeling that just like gurgles in your heart of disappointment. And I remember thinking like, dang, here I am, like the queen, like the throne of the household, that they just like adore me and did everything for me. And I just like disappointed them. I remember being terrified to tell them like terrified. And I told him, I was like, you got to do this. I was like, you got to go talk to my parents. You got to go talk to my brothers because I can't do that. I mean, I know I'm going to make them, I know I'm going to break their heart. So when all of that happened, and then because I knew what the household should look like, I held on to that image. And anything Nani's dad did to me, I was like, no, I'm going to fight for my family. No, because I had a good household. I'm going to give that to my daughter. And I think that's when reality really hit that, like, you can only fight so much and it still not work. And that the world was not as protected as I thought it was. Because there was times that I would run to my dad and he'd be like, ¿y luego? Like testing me, like, what are you going to do? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, you have the answers, you know, like, it was just like, give me guidance. And my dad's like, mija, ¿qué quieres que te diga? I've never lived through that. And it was hard to hear my dad tell me, like, I have nothing, like, no guidance to give you because, like, you literally put yourself through this. And I remember, like, thinking,
that's a
like,
world that I don't know.
Yeah, it was like, wow, like, this is hard. And I didn't want to live through it. I remember I kept telling myself, like, stop, like, why? And I would, like, literally beg Nani's dad to the point where I think of myself now and I'm like, how pathetic are you? Like, literally pathetic. No wonder he did what he did, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and I remember feeling this, like, anger towards my brothers because at that time Brian was in jail. And I remember feeling like, where are y'all now? Like, here I am going through all of this, like, deceivedness, being cheated on. I'm by myself and I have my daughter now. I'm like, y'all aren't here. Like, where are y'all? But I needed to remember that they were out figuring out their own lives too. Like, I couldn't have that ownership of them. Like, I couldn't. Like, who was I to just be like, you're supposed to be here for me eternally? Like, no. Like, they were going through their own struggles and tribulations. And, like, my brother Brian was incarcerated. I could only imagine what he was going through. And here I come being selfish. Like, what about my problems? Like, but at that time, like, I remember feeling this deep anger of, like, y'all did not tell me about this. Like, why am I going through this? Where are y'all? You know? And I just felt very alone in my struggle. It sucked. It really sucked, especially because I didn't have a sister that I could just, like, emotionally connect to. And, like, whenever I vented to my brothers, they had, like, quick analytical answers. And I was like, so you're not going to cry with me?
Yeah.
And it's hard. It really is hard. It's just, I feel like that's when life really hit me. Like, dang, this is, and then it just got worse. After that relationship, it just got worse and worse and worse. I mean, God was really showing me what the world was like. So I feel like that's where the growing up in me really happened.
Whenever you were an adult.
When I was growing up within 17, myself. Yeah, 18. I had Analia when I was 17. So a lot of this was self-inflicted pain.
I was going to college.
Yeah. Jose Luis tells me about his adolescent years and I'm just like, dang, that's like nothing to where I was at. Like, my struggles came right when Jose was just like finding himself in like the United States. But to me, it was like I was going through some tough times.
You still had to pay your dues.
Yeah, I still had to pay my dues. I didn't pay them as a child, but I for sure did as a young adult.
Yeah, and then, well, tell us more. Tell us about your like, you have to, because I know we're missing a lot of things that you went through. Like, for instance, one thing that I noticed when I first met you is that you thought that you didn't need a man in your life in a way, because you always play the male role in your relationships. That's one. Two. Well, no, let's start with that one first, and then.
So when Jose Luis met me, okay, so let's go down the timeline. First, when shit really started hitting the fan, my brother got incarcerated. I kind of went through that of like, I really missed my brother. Mm-hmm. And it was really, really hard. That's when my parents first started drifting away from each other. And just seeing my household fall. Like, people say like, oh, like, this is when marriages are trialed, you know? And they really were. I saw it in my household. My mom and my dad like stopped sleeping in the same room. It was really sad to see my mom always crying. My dad was just like full of anger, and I'm pretty sure he blamed himself for a lot of it, like a lot of it. Um, my grandpa passed away a few years before my brother got incarcerated, so it was just like our household was really crumbling. My dad gave up being a manager at like 3 restaurants and being part owner of one of the restaurants, and then he went home to try to fill in those gaps and try to help us. I remember we were out of school for like a month after my grandpa passed away. Then my brother got incarcerated, and my brother Tony at the time, they were really involved in the drug world, and were selling drugs, right, to get through. Thing that we kind of like turned a blind eye to. So we saw when my brother got incarcerated, my brother Tony, um, his household fell apart. He was with his wife and him split up. So it was just like everything was like hitting the fan. And I had to have my 3 nieces at our home, and it was just really hard because my mom was filling up that gap with work. She was working more and working more, and I had to be an adult now to my nieces and my nephews. And then my brother was missing, and my little brother was very angry. Bobby turned really, really angry at the world because he loved his brothers, and just having that person missing, and then my grandpa missing, it was just a lot. So we kept going to school, whatever, and then that's when I met Nani's dad. All of that hit the fan. There was a really bad point in my life with Nani's dad that my dad was like, "You're not doing this shit." Like, literally, when I say I cried to this man, like to the point of being pathetic, it was pathetic. Um, there was a point in our lives that we lived in the same household, but agreed to not be together. And that was really hard for me because, like I said, I was obsessed with having a family, like being like 2 adults with your child, you know? I was really obsessed with that. And we ended up agreeing to be together but separated and hiding it from my parents because I didn't want to disappoint my dad again. And I remember him bringing women over and being like in the room, and here I am with my daughter. And I just kept telling myself, like, why is this happening to me if I'm like still trying to be fix things, you know? And it was really hard. I was this little girl because I was like 17, 18 at the time, and I was trying to go back to school. I had graduated like top 10, really good grades, was a magnet student, graduated with an associate's degree, and here I was stuck as a baby mom that was putting up with everything, like everything you could think of. And I remember telling my dad, like, this is happening when I just could not anymore with the burden of like infidelity and having a broken household. And I went up to my dad, and that's when I told him like the truth. That's when my dad was like, "Yo no sé qué decirte." Like, yo nunca he estado en esa posición. And I think that's when I was like, wow. And he was like, "Y todavía le estás rogando?" I said, "Yeah, because I have to have my family together." He said, "Who told you that?" And I said, "That's all I know." And I remember my dad crying, and he was like, no, you're not gonna be there and be pathetic and cry for someone that's doing all of this to you." And he was like, "You're gonna grab your shit and you're gonna go to Dallas and you're gonna live out there till you figure out your life. But you need to stop obsessing over this man." And I don't know to this day if it was an obsession with him or an obsession of just like wanting that family that I thought I was promised, you
I
know?
think it was that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it was just like in obsession, really like in obsession. Went to Dallas with my daughter, and I mean, grabbed my few things and left. And then when I came back, I feel like that time really like purged me. Like, it purged an area of my heart that I felt like I don't fucking need this person. And I think that's when that kicking in of like, I'm an independent person. If I did this with my daughter, I could do it all. And I really preached and manifested that in my eyes. It was like a ritual every morning. I would speak to myself and be like, "I can get through this. I can get through this. I'm going to get myself and my daughter through this. I'm never going to put myself in this situation again." And I kept preaching that to myself to the point that I believed it. Then I was like really into my feminine side. Came back, started going out, filling my void with other areas, going out, drinking, being at the club, not involved with my daughter as much as I promised myself I would be, having bad mom guilt, like bad mom guilt. I was like my 19 and my 20s. And I remember my mom telling me like, y la niña pa cuando? You know, and I would argue with my mom so bad, so bad. And my grandma was taking care of my daughter at the time because I was going to school. This is the thing about me though, like even though my life was really hectic and I was going out and drinking and doing bad decisions, I was always in school. Like I was doing my prereqs. Like I had a vision, but the path was just not good. Like so I was already going on my prereqs, which is why my mom and my grandma were still helping me. I was working 3 jobs. And then the bad part of my path is that I kept trying to fill this void of not having my family with a relationship, past relationship that were just like non-functional. First, it was this relationship that was heavily abusive. I remember everything was jolly and great in the beginning. This was like not right after, but a year or two after Nani's dad. I got in this relationship and it was just like abusive. And like he was very involved in drugs, and being that naive girl, I never knew how to like speak to him to where I could like touch his heart and be like, what you're doing is not wrong. So whenever I tried to touch that subject, it was just like, fuck you, this and that. And everything ended in like physical abuse, like everything. And I remember when that relationship ended, that's when like my brother, I've told you this, but like I had built a home with this person. We went out there far from San Antonio, and I remember parts of our relationship where he would take my keys away. And I had my daughter.
Is that why we don't have keys here?
So he would take my keys away, so I couldn't tell my family about what was going on, or so that they couldn't see me and the bruises and the physical abuse that was going on. And I remember like him always telling me, but like, you don't work, like no trabajas, like no necesitas nada, because he was financially like wealthy, you know. And I would always tell that to him, like, oh, I want to have stability, because I never had that with Nani's dad. And I was like, I want this. And I feel like he used that to like manipulate me into this relationship that I thought was glorious. And then when everything felt glorious, that's when the physical abuse started kicking in, right? And hence I had my own accountabilities for that, not speaking up, not doing what I had to do to protect my daughter. Nothing was done to Annalie at that time, besides the fact that she saw me very broken. But I remember being in that household, and there was times that he would take away my keys and my phone. I went like 2 years without having a cell phone. I was like, what the fuck? Try to do that to me now? Hell no.
So what would there's I'm pretty sure there's some girls watching this video right now that are going through something similar. How do you think they can how can they obtain that courage to be like, this is enough?
I think that I didn't know it was enough, because this was like a 2 to 3 year relationship. I don't think I knew it was enough. Like I didn't feel it was enough. Everybody around me was like, what are you doing? Like literally, Angel, what are you doing? Like your family is so loving, so giving. Why are you with this person? Even my mom, I remember this one time she grabbed my face and she's like, "Estás bien pendeja," like crap, like very, very frustrated. And I was stuck. I remember this one time I ended up in the hospital because he broke one of my fingers from like pushing me. And since she didn't see any bruises in my face, I denied it to the end. But I was in the hospital by myself, so she must have figured like, why isn't he here, you know? And I remember my mom texting him like, get away from my daughter, like. And then after that, I texted him, come pick me up from the hospital. That's how brainwashed I was. And I was in my own little like self-inflicted pain circle. No, literally, like I get so frustrated with myself. And I remember, because like people see my story and they're like, oh, it must have been so easy. It was not easy. Like, it was not easy. And people see like our happiness and they're like, oh, Angel, like this. And believe me, when I was with these people, I was posting all the happy things, never the sadness. Never.
There's people doing that
Yeah, there still is people
right
doing
now.
that. So it's like, no, girl, go out there, tell your story. That could be literally your testimony. Like, literally, it's for other people, not for you. Because my testimony is not done. Me and Jose were talking about this the other day. My testimony is not done. This isn't what made me. This is what got me through. Like, this is what
Yeah.
got me through. That physical abuse, that cheating, that infidelity, not having my family is not what made me. It's what got me through. Because believe me, like, there was a point in that relationship that he literally told me, like, grab your fucking daughter and put yourself to the fucking curb. Literally, those fucking words. He said, grab your shit and wait for your family to come and get you. And I remember, like, literally throwing myself on the floor at that house and, like, knowing that my dad and my oldest brother were on their way to help me pack up, right? And I was crying, like yelling, like that cry of like, fuck, like, why? And I was crying so loud. And his parents lived a block, like not even a block, like a house away, but there's acres to the house. I'm pretty sure they heard me. I'm 100% sure they heard me, and they did not come after knowing everything that had happened. And hence, Child Protective Services were called. I was at the point of like, they were like, if you do not get out of this relationship, we will take your daughter away. And I think that's when I was like, what?
Silo.
Oh, he's dreaming.
Wake him up. Is that weird?
Yeah, he's asleep.
Or dog's sleeping right here in here. And he's having nightmares with Angel's story.
I know, probably. But I remember yelling in that house and like this like cry for help, and knowing that my brothers and my brother Tony and my dad were coming for me. And I remember that this hurts my heart, but I remember them coming up and we had cameras, and I was like looking at my phone, and I did not have the strength in me to get up and like open the door for them. So I had the door unlocked, right? And I remember like my brother Tony grabbing my dad and telling him like, we got this. And I was looking at them in the camera, and I did not have the strength to get up, because I was like, I did this to them. Like, here I was so like helpless, not knowing and realizing that I was hurting them too. Like, why didn't I put myself in my dad's shoes, and be like, I'm his princess, How hard must it have been for him to know and turn a blind eye? He knew.
Que están puteando y todo.
Yeah, he knew.
Damn.
And
then, okay. And because I believe that everything keeps happening. Well, we go through life, and sometimes situations keep repeating themselves over and over and over and over. And it's because you haven't changed as a person, and that's why God keeps bringing you the same problems. Because you went through another relationship after that one.
Yeah.
And
similar
situation.
Yeah.
But you wanted that family so bad, right?
So bad. So bad. Like, I got out of that. Well, hence back to that story. My dad goes upstairs and he literally like grabs me, like puts me up, and he's like, si tú te vieras like en mis ojos. And he was crying. Like, it's so hard to see your dad cry, because I see him as a strong, like Mexican authentic man that's like can take anything. And he was bawling. And Tony was like, God fucking damn, sis. Like, God damn. Like, why? And I could just see this anger in my brother. And he was like, let's grab your shit. Let's go. Like, let's go right now. And he was like grabbing everything. And I remember Tony in the middle of everything. He was like, and these appliances, who paid for them? And then my dad turns around and looks at him, because my dad had paid for them. He's like, disconnect that shit. Like, he said, disconnect that shit. We're taking that with us. Like, he's not gonna he's not gonna endure like all of my dad's like all his hard work. And they packed everything, but there was a point that my dad like turned me around and he was like, "Ya deja de llorar." And I was like, "Es que yo quiero, like, lo quiero." And my dad was like, "Are you serious, Marie?" It's funny, but like literally that's what I said. And he was like,
I would have left you there. Like, all right, then stay there.
"No." My dad was like, "¿Tú sabes lo que es amor?" And I was like, "Sí." And he was like, "¿Qué es amor?" And here I am giving all these stupid explanations.
When they
right?
hit you.
Yeah. And then I'm like, and then here's my dad with like all the patience in the world. And he's like, "Amor, mija, es venir a levantarte de esta casa y no saber el dolor que yo siento. Like, por favor, like, vámonos. Por favor, por el amor mío, vámonos." And I remember just riding in the car and I was like, fuck, here I failed
That's
him.
God right there.
Yeah, I literally was like the walk of shame. No, it was like the drive of shame. Like, I was so in my head about this person. And I feel like if I didn't hit rock bottom, like literally true rock bottom, getting your child almost taken away.
Well, I mean, but you didn't learn? That's the thing.
I did for a while, because then after that.
I learned for 2 weeks.
No.
Yes. Yo, I'm todo emputado because you fucking didn't learn. And then you went back to another fucking piece of shit.
Then I got into another relationship a few years after that. And this person did not work. Like, at all. Like, when I say, like, homeboy wanted me to fix his papers, wanted me to pay for the fixing of the papers. And Nani told Jose this story not that long ago. Like, I would come home from not only working 2 jobs, but also going to school, coming home, and Nani would be like, "Mom, no he comido." And I would be like,
I haven't eaten. Para los que no saben español.
Yeah, and I'd be like, "What do you mean you haven't eaten? Like, I pay for these groceries. Like, you're literally in a house with this person that's supposed to care about us. Like, what do you mean you haven't eaten?" And he'd be like, "Well, you didn't cook." While homeboy did not work all day. And I'm like, what? Like, and I was so stuffed in my head of like, I have to have this family. I have to have this family. And I have to make my family proud, that I just like, since I had already introduced them to my parents, that I was like, this has to work. And I'm going to help him change. And I was so invested in helping him change his. I'm a fixer. Like, I've noticed that. And
no, you're not.
I told Jose Luis this when I first started nursing. I'm a nurturer. Like, I want to fix.
Oh, yes, but
I want to fix everything about you. And I was so tired of fixing him that I was like, what?
Because you never fixed him.
Yeah, I didn't. I think he faked it, though, at one point.
Yeah, when he cried like a little bitch. Stop. Please take me back. Anyway, see you later.
So then, yeah, he started physically abusing me too. Dude, literally, because you came in at the end of that. Dude, it was so bad. And I don't know why. Like, even all my friends were like, "Angel, how are you supporting your daughter, going to school, working 2 jobs, and homeboy won't even go to work?" It was so bad. And just because I was already like invested in the story and like trying to make him like someone he was not, I was like, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna change him and our lives are gonna do a 360. Yeah, no. Then he started physically abusing me too, like hitting me. And I remember this one time my brother Brian had already gotten out of jail. He got out in the middle of our relationship, which is just crazy, which I think Brian had a lot to do with why shit hit the fan after he got out, because I could see the fear in that guy's face when Brian got out. Like, I could literally see the fear in his face. And Brian at the time was in house arrest at my mom's house because he got out on parole or whatever, right? And I don't even remember how many months he was out on parole, but I remember going over to the house and my brother was like, "Put on your gloves, we're gonna start boxing," right? And remember, I did boxing as a kid, so like me and my brother would spar and get my anger out. I remember this one time he had hit me and made me a black eye. And me and him even created a story of how that black eye happened. And I remember going to a family dinner and my eye was healing. And my brother Brian was like, "What the fuck is on your eye?" And his face was like pure, like, fear. And I was like, oh, I was grabbing something from the cabinet at the medical office I work in, and I didn't see the boxes. So I pulled the file, and the boxes came and hit my eye. And he was like, that was nicely created. That's what he answered me.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked straight at Aaron's face, like with anger. And I was like, fuck yeah, here's my brothers to save the day. But no, I was just like, damn, he's going to punch the shit out of him. So we went through the whole dinner and everything. And my brother grabs me and he's like, what really happened to your eye? And I said, that's what happened. And he said, Marie. And I was like, no, that's literally what happened. And he was like, let me find out. Right next to this guy, right? And we went home and he was like, you're going to tell your brother? And I was like, no, I'm not going to tell him. Like, everything's fine. We'll figure it out. And I was like, why would you do that to me? I remember hating him so much. I was like, why would you do that to me? If you're so fucking scared of my brother, why would you do that to me? And I think that's when stuff started hitting the fan, because he knew he could no longer do his ways if my brother was there. And I started going over to my brother's house. I mean, my mom's house, because my brother was there more. And I remember just being more involved with my family. I felt more connected to my family. And that's when I was just like, this is a me issue. Like, clearly, this is a me issue. I do not know why I'm still putting up with this stuff. I need to get over it. He needs to, like, figure life for himself. And he has not hit rock bottom. So he needs to hit rock bottom for him to fix himself. So, I ended up ending things with him, which is the first relationship that I did not end forcefully. I just like ended it, and I was like, I don't want this anymore. Like, I just didn't. I remember just feeling like I don't want this anymore. I'm tired, like physically tired. I remember just the lies, like lying to my family about what reality was, us not having electricity, not having enough money, like just lying to them. And while my parents were like, in your how's his immigration status? And I'm like, oh, they're almost getting done. He was so close to getting his immigration papers, and I was like, I need to end this before he gets exactly what he wants. And I ended it, and then after that I started going out with my brothers. My brother Brian got out of house arrest, and I felt so connected to my family again, like really, really connected. um in the midst of all of that, I remember like me and you started like talking, and he went like months. What was it, like 6 months of not bothering me before you came into the picture, that I was like, okay, this is all over with. And he had already figured out life with someone else, was already dating, going out, doing all the stuff people do when they're recently single. And I remember just keeping to myself those 5 6 months that he would not bother me. um but the moment he knew you were in my life, or like talking to me, or wanting to pursue, like talking to me, or just anything, he went batshit crazy. I remember him coming over after 5 to 6 months of not knowing about this man. He walked up to my house on a day I was out with my family and broke all my windows, bleached all of mine and my daughter's clothes, and literally left me like a note, like, fuck you, bitch. Like, you're gonna talk to another man. And I was like, what? Like, I have not heard from you in months, literally months. And then I remember calling you, and you were like, why? Why would he do that? And I'm like, I don't know. I thought I was done with this chapter. I remember my parents moving me back to their home for me to be safe, me and my daughter. So I moved back that night that everything happened, and my dad was like, well, you have no clothes, like, here's some money for clothes, like, go figure it out, keep going to school, keep working. And once again, I was in my little pit hole of like just self-pity, that I was like, I did this to myself. I literally did this to myself. Here is this person, because of my actions and my choices. Here I am again, no clothes, not only for me, but for my daughter. And now he doesn't have that physical abuse over me, but he still is emotionally disturbing me. Like, still, he still had that control in my life. And my mom and my dad were like, don't leave the house, or we're going to figure it out. I was already talking to you. And I remember my dad telling me, like, find a home for you and Analia, and we'll figure it out, mija. Like, we'll figure it out as time goes, right? I started looking for homes. I would tell you, like, oh, I got approved for like this much, and la la la. At that time, like 250 can get you a lot. Right now, yeah, no, 1 bedroom if you're lucky. So at that time, I had gotten approved for 250. I was looking at homes and this and that. And I remember one day my dad just came home and he was like, "We sold your house." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, we sold like where you lived at, because why would you want to go back?" And I remember being so angry at my parents, like, why would y'all do that? Like, why couldn't we just, because at that time I was like filing a lawsuit against him, trying to find a way for him to get incarcerated and do his time. Like, bro, like, you literally have inflicted all this pain on me. Now you ruined my house, bleached everything. I'm talking about carpets, couches, clothes, like everything. Broke every window in that house. Like, I was just like, I want you to pay. Like, I want you to severely pay for the pain that you have inflicted onto not only me but my family. And yeah, it was really, really bad. I went back home. My parents had sold the house, and I was left in this, like, here I am again, depending on my family. And it really sucked. Really, really sucked. That's when you were coming into the picture. And if y'all heard episode 1, when I said, when I was talking to Jose Luis, I would really sit in my thoughts and be like, does this person deserve this chaotic shithole I'm in? Like, literally a shithole. And there was parts of my life that I would filter for Jose Luis, because I was like, imagine me trying to meet a new person and being like, yeah, my ex just like broke all my windows, bleached all my clothes, so I don't have clothes to go out with you with. But sure, let's go have a coffee. Oh, and my baby dad is like incarcerated. But hi. But I'm cute and I have a big butt. Like, no,
I thought she had a big butt.
Oh my
God. She didn't. But anyways.
But yeah, like, I would literally dwell in my thoughts, like, this person that is like all deserving does not deserve.
Yeah, see.
Yeah, literally, Jose Luis did not have a bad. He was not in a bad place within himself, within the earth, within his doings. Like, he was not in a bad place era in his life. He was like thriving in everything, making really good money, making really good decisions career wise. And here I am in this shithole. I couldn't even get into nursing school because I decided to marry this abusive man that would not give me my divorce. And there was areas in my life that I would literally filter for Jose Luis, because I'm like, he cannot know about this. Like, he cannot. And there was a point that he was also like back and forth with an ex at the time. And I was like, bro, like, literally, like, go back to that, because I am a shithole, like, literally in a shithole. And you do not deserve whatever I have, like, coming towards me. Let me figure out my life. And maybe if things work out for me, like, the future will bring us back together. But it was just like,
yeah, no, but it was no, because I told myself, I don't need this. So I kind of like just stopped talking to her.
mm-hmm.
But I remembered that I told her, well, like, do this, do that. That's the only thing I told her. I was like, you need to make sure that you send this guy to Mexico.
Yeah,
I remember this.
And he was like, deport him.
Deport him. Like, you should, because he's messing your life up. And then I stopped talking to her.
There was this one time that he would literally record Jose Luis's truck at my house, and he would text me like, I'm gonna fuck up his truck. Months from being broken up. And I was like in constant fear that he would tell me like, I don't have my mom and my dad, and I could literally kill you and I'd be fine with it. And I would just be like, he probably is not playing. Or he would tell me like, I could break all the windows, I could do all this crime, and it doesn't matter what happens to me because I don't have anybody waiting for me. Like, he didn't have a kid that he cared about. He didn't have.
He had
a kid, but he did not care.
Didn't give a fuck about the kids.
No, he did not give a fuck. He did not, like, literal no fucks given. He did not have a dad. He did not have a mom. His mom had already passed away, and I was just in constant fear. And I think my parents were the ones that like really analyzed what he would say in text messages, that my mom and my dad were truly terrified for me. And that's when you were coming into the picture. My mom would tell me like, este muchacho no se merece eso. Like, tú te hiciste una vida, una mierda, afigúratelas, y luego al rato trata de agarrar pareja, porque ni sabes en dónde chingados tienes tu vida. Like, she would literally tell me like, you have no fucking idea where your choices have leaded you.
You didn't.
And now you're in this shithole and you're trying to drag someone that does not deserve that into your life once again. And then she would like tell me, like, figure your fucking life out and then go find a person, because you don't even know what you are or what you've become or what you're doing. And I would just be like, she hates me. Like,
Yeah.
and it was not hate. My mom was literally speaking truth to me. And I was so ignorant at that time that I did not care. And I was so careless, so worthless as a person, that I could not see past me. Like, me. I wanted everything. Everything is about me. Everything is about Angel. And it was like, no, girl, like there's a self-realization of like, there's people you're hurting. My mom, my dad, my brothers, and Jose Luis at the time. I could have really hurt him if I stayed in the position I was in. So that break was really good. It was really good because it gave me time to, like, I remember when I restarted talking to Jose Luis, he was like, how are you? And I was like, I divorced my ex. And he's now in jail about to get deported. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah. And it's not like I wanted that for him, but it's like he was doing so much harm. That it was just bad, like really, really bad. He even had authority to pick up my daughter because, of course, we were fine at one point, and I had given him authority to pick up my daughter. And he texted me one day, I have Analia. And I remember feeling this fear of like, he better be lying. I literally left work and drove to my daughter's school and was like, please, please tell me my daughter's here. And they were like, yeah, she's fine. And I was like, why would he do that? And it was just constantly like testing me. Yeah, I cannot imagine going through that now, because there was a time in my life that I was driving on my way home, and I talk about those times in my life, and I look at Jose Luis, and we were like driving on our way home, remember, to Cornell, and I was like, babe, and you're like, what? You're listening to like a podcast on the way home from the gym. And I was like, would you ever hit me? And you're like, no. And I just started crying. And I was like, why not? And you thought I was the dumbest person ever. And I was like crying. He was like, oh shit, wait, this is serious.
She was basically asking to be hit.
And I was just like,
and subconsciously, I guess that was normal to you.
It was normal to me. I was sad. Like, how am I living this? What did I do to deserve this? Like, it was just like, it had become normal. Literally, I normalized being physically abused, being cheated on. And there was times in our relationship at the beginning that I was like, there's no way this guy's like this. There has to be something. There has to be. And I was constantly digging, trying to fight, trying to find my insecurities.
So what changed your mind?
That I'm still here.
Yeah, but
that you don't do none of those things.
So if I was to hit you, would you still stay with me?
No.
Why not?
Because I feel like now you've helped me grow out of that. I've gone through a lot of therapy, and I don't think I would ever put myself in that position anymore. I think I'm strong enough to be like, no.
So what do you think are red flags to identify a person or a guy that would hit you?
One huge thing that I learned with you, and I learned through therapy, is that I can literally be my authentic self with you. Mm-hmm. And I feel like when I was being physically abused was because they were trying to mold me to be someone I was not. And
a chingazo, okay.
Sí, a huevo. Because
you gotta beat this week.
Yeah, because like I remember that when I would ask them like, why did you do that? They're like, you were being flirtatious with certain people. And I'm like, no, I'm just a very friendly person. I'm very outspoken. I'm very like, I want to get to know people. And like their little insecurities was like their little use for them or excuse to hit me. And I remember like just little stupid things like, because you have friends of this person, and because of social media, and because the way you express yourself. And I'm like, but that's who I am. Like, that's literally who I am. I'm a happy, outgoing person. And they were constantly trying to change that. And then I meet you, and you're just like, okay, you're friendly. Like, okay, I remember this one time when you brought your friends around. When we went out to 10, when you brought your girlfriend.
Oh, one time I told her I was coming from Midland, and I told her, "Hey, get ready. I'm gonna pick you up at this time."
Yeah.
And yeah, right. Anyways, I had a friend. Her name is Tanya, and I told her, "Hey, Tanya, let's go to San Antonio. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that." Because it was I think then no, we're gonna have a trail ride, cabalgata, and I was like, "You wanna come?" She's like, "Yeah, we'll go, whatever." So I invited her, right? So she rode with me from Midland to San Antonio. Well, when I got there to Angel's house, I was like, "Hey, I'm here." And then I got inside, and I was like, "Oh, by the way, my friend Tanya's in the car.
Yeah.
Can she come in?"
Yeah. And I remember, like, I was like, dude, like, this is stuff that in my past relationships would have been like, no, like, get the fuck out of my house, or you're gonna get bitch slapped, or like something, it's not common. But then I was like, I'm trying to grow out of that. Like, is there something wrong with him having girlfriends? No.
Yes.
Girlfriends?
Yes. I don't have girlfriends.
Well, not anymore, but at that time, like, you
Oh
were
yeah.
out, you were single, you were allowed to
Yeah.
do the single
Yeah,
thing.
but
I
I
could
never.
not control you.
I was never hiding stuff from
Yeah,
you.
yeah, no, that too. But at the same time, I was like, this is normal. He is single. I need to know my place. He needs to know his place. And it should be vice versa. And if we don't step on each other's feet to where it is literally um like physical abuse, or it's like not okay, then this should be okay. And I remember when I would introduce you to my guy friends at the bar, I'd be like, hey, Jose Luis, like, look, this is a tal fulano de tal fulano, and like I met them through like whatever, right? And you would be like, hey, what's up, bro? Like, la la la. And I was like, this is healthy. This is what I've been asking for. And I think that when it comes to like now speaking on to other people, it's like you need to know what's healthy and what's not healthy, and stop being culturally driven. People are like, no, like if he introduces you, and literally in my head, I would be like, if he introduces me to his friends in front of me and in front of him, like in front of people, why should I let my insecurities build on me if he's literally introducing them to me? If it was the other way around and he was hiding people from me that I clearly knew he knew and he was not introducing them to me, then my insecurities can kick in. But why am I letting this thought boil in my head that's not even a true reality and possibly cannot be a reality? Why? Because culture has molded that to be wrong. And it's not wrong. He is allowed to know people in his past that he can introduce to me, and that be it. Literally, that be it. And that's what in my past relationships, it was not allowed. I was not allowed to turn around and look at people. I was not allowed to over tip. I was not allowed to like say hi to people's husbands or whatever. Like, it was just not okay. It was not okay if he had friends and if they said hi to me, I was automatically like having an infidelity. And it was just like, no, dude, like people can literally be people and you not have to control it. And I think that that's when me and you started like going out and stuff like that, that it was just like, okay, that's healthy. I remember you would call me and be like, hey, I'm going out with my friends, or you would already be out. And I had to tell myself, like, I have no reason, no place to be upset. Literally no place. There was even a time when Jose Luis's at that time, like on and off ex, had called me and was like, did you know that? And I was like, yes, I did know. Or if I didn't know, now I know. But I have no place to be upset. He is a person, he is single. I am single, and this is what single people do. I have no authority to be upset. And I think when you have clear boundaries of who you are, literally you, before you think of the other person and who he is as a person, there's no reason why foot should be stepped on, and no reason why you should be so angry to where you physically abuse one another. There should be no reason. Like, I have asked this to Jose Luis many times. What draws the line to where you can physically abuse me? He's like, no, I have self-control. And that's what it is. You need to have self-control of who the fuck you are. And that's it. Now, if I went down like immaturity lane and was like, fuck you past girl, whatever, like, this is my man, that is me trying to control something that I'm not in control of, and me not knowing who I am as a person. Now, I stood on my boundaries and I was like, I know where I am, I know where I'd stand, and if that's where you and him stand, that's cool, because that does not define who I am. Like, you can still be with him and I could still be my person. And if your call was to conflict who I am, it's not. You failed and I'm still Angel. And I think that when you have those strong personalities like you, when people come and try to screw with who I am, you're like, no, because that's not Angel. Because you've built those strong boundaries. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you agree or disagree?
I agree, babe. That's what I'm here for.
Oh my God.
No, that is true.
But it's taken a lot of therapy.
It takes both of us, not just you. Because when I met you, I was going through. That's when I realized that I was not doing anything with my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's when I started doing a lot of self-development.
Yeah.
So I think that helped a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
He was growing in his own arena and I was growing in all the arenas. Like I really needed to develop who I was as a person. And
yeah, so because at that time I was trying to develop a confident man, a man that knew his purpose, his why, a man that wanted to know what was he gonna do whenever he would grow, not only at a personal level, also professionally, money wise, everything in all aspects. That's how a confident man is. He's always planning for the future. For the future, that way he knows what the fuck he's gonna do, and that helped a lot because that helped me with jealousy. That helped me with what else? Confidence.
yeah.
So if you had friends, I knew that I was better than your friends or anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I feel confident in my own skin. So I was like, if she doesn't want to be with me, it's her loss.
Allah.
But I'm not going to tell her it's your loss. I'm just
Yeah.
going to let her do her own thing.
Yeah.
And that's like, and I think that I know that helped you and me
Yeah.
to grow.
Yeah. There was times in the beginning of our relationship that I had to constantly tell myself like, he is who he is and I cannot mold that. I need to stop trying to fix people because he is who he is and I need to respect that. And that was me growing within myself because like I said, I was a fixer. I wanted to fix everybody. I was like, this area in your life, I just want to put a band-aid on it. And I was like, no, like I haven't even put a band-aid on myself and I'm trying to fix other people. And I think that when I met Jose Luis, I was just really working on myself and really dwelling on my thoughts. And it was really nice and a breath of fresh air to have someone that was not trying to fix me. And since he was doing his own self-development, we would constantly read. Remember, we would go read all the time. And it was nice to see someone that was working on themselves. And even when little insecurities would kick in, we had those constructive conversations, like where we could walk out of this still holding each other's hand, you know. And that within itself put a band-aid in a lot of areas of my life, like a lot. And I remember actually speaking my insecurities and like crying with Jose Luis, really feeling those emotions that I just would hinder. And even though he hadn't experienced them, he would be like, it's okay. Like, you're going to be okay. And just having that listening ear really helped me. Thank you, babe.
You're welcome. No me dejaste hablar del podcast.
Oh my God.
I didn't talk because this is about her, okay? No, but I mean, hopefully this can help some girls that are going through some stuff. I'm pretty sure there's at least one that's going through this.
Yeah.
And if we can...
I was a strong single mom person for a long time.
Yeah.
I held true to that, right, babe?
Yeah, and if we can provide value to at least one person, we're doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have any questions, post, like, comment below or whatever, put a like, subscribe.
Or even DM us. Like, I've had a few
Yes.
people that have DM'd us secretly because they just don't want to put themselves out there, and that really meant a lot because I could tell who's actively listening, you know, and wants to share their story without even any input. Like, I don't need to put my 2 cents into your life. Like, if you just need a listening ear, I wish I had a listening ear, you know. It's intimidating to put your life out there.
Yep.
And that's what we're doing.
¿Qué más quieres hablar? ¿Es todo que?
No, I just want to say, if anything, like, a lot of people have been asking, what is the podcast about? We're gonna go more deep into like our struggles now from here on forward of what our life has been, taking that leap of faith. And
We're gonna be talking about like weekly stuff that's going on through our lives and our thoughts. And we're just gonna ask ourselves like, what would you do if you were going through this? But I mean, we're gonna have some experiences throughout the week.
yeah,
We're probably gonna answer some questions that some people have about us. We're gonna talk about faith. We're gonna talk about business, self development.
yeah,
And
entrepreneurship is a huge thing for us because Jose Luis is jack of all trades, just like I'm jack of all trades. We do so much, but I feel like because of doing, if we can inspire someone to just get out there and take that leap of faith, and still have hope that they're gonna thrive through whatever leap of faith they're doing, like we already have a win, you know. Like some people are already entrepreneurs and they're struggling with stuff and they just want to know if someone's out there dealing with the same stuff we are, when it comes to family, when it comes to business, when it comes to our own jobs, because we still have an hourly wage, still raising a daughter. We have a lot of avenues in our lives that we could talk about that still link into entrepreneurship. Things are only getting more expensive, life is only getting harder, and we want to be that listening ear and also
the support.
Support.
Because when we started, we didn't have nobody. Hold
Still
our hands.
Sometimes it's very lonely. What we do.
And we want to find those like-minded people.
Hell yeah.
That way we can go out, have a dinner, or just go out and sit and have real quality conversations, because a lot of us, people that think like us, we can feel lonely sometimes.
A lot of times.
And but yeah, we need to find those people. That way we can eventually, I have a vision for this. Eventually we can get to a point where we can invite some people in here and they can talk to us about their life situation. And we can probably one day we'll have a big ass symposium. I'll bring in Trump, Biden, ask some questions about what are we gonna do about our economy.
No, that's on Jose Luis's podcast.
Like, we can talk about good stuff, but that's the purpose, to bring value to other people. That's my purpose. I don't know what Angel's purpose is.
No, my purpose is to bring value. I just want people to know that you're not by yourself and that this road is very lonely. But you're not alone. Like, there's other people out there that are very like-minded, come from similar roots from you, and that you could do all things you set your mind to. Because here we are with very subtle backgrounds. And you can do all things. Like, I don't think that we're successful, but I think that our dream is big. And if we could share our dream with people, and then they start instilling their own dreams and knowing that they could do them and pursue them and be successful in their dreams, whatever that dream is, and whatever success is defined in your vision, do it. Like, literally do it. Like Pastor Ed says, I'm just glad y'all are in the room to listen. I'm preaching to myself. Yeah, honestly, sometimes I look back at my videos and I'm like, damn, I sound strong, when really I'm feeling really weak today. And it really helps me. It really does help me. I literally listen to the stuff we record and I'm like, I really need to start preaching what I say a lot more.
Yep.
Yeah.
But still okay.
Yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. Please tell us what you would like to hear, what you didn't like to hear, and give us feedback on those comments. We love y'all. Adore y'all. Thank y'all so much for all the love and support.
Bye.